Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. The situation on the Eastern Front has entered a new and dramatic phase, and many observers are now saying that Russia was not ready for the speed and coordination of Ukraine's latest advances. What we are seeing is not a single isolated push, but a series of fast-moving operations that are changing the tempo of the conflict in ways few expected at this moment. Over the past weeks, Ukrainian forces have focused on momentum. Instead of slow, grinding assaults, they are using rapid strikes, flexible units, and real-time intelligence to keep Russian forces off balance. This approach has forced Russia to react rather than plan, and in warfare, being reactive is often a sign of weakness. One of the most striking elements is how quickly Ukrainian units are moving after breakthroughs. In earlier stages of the war, advances were often cautious, with long pauses to consolidate positions. Now once a gap appears, Ukrainian forces exploit it immediately, pushing forward before Russian defenses can reorganize. This speed has exposed serious problems in Russian command and control. Reports and analysis suggest that communication delays, unclear orders, and rigid hierarchies are making it difficult for Russian units to respond effectively. By the time instructions reach the front, the situation has already changed. Ukraine's use of modern surveillance has played a key role in this shift. Drones, satellite data, and rapid information sharing allow Ukrainian commanders to see the battlefield in near real time. This means decisions can be made faster and opportunities can be seized before they disappear. Russian forces, on the other hand, appear to be struggling with coordination between different units. In several areas, defensive lines have been thin, with reserves positioned too far back to respond quickly. When Ukrainian forces push forward, there is often no immediate counterattack. Another factor is morale. Ukrainian troops are fighting with a clear sense of purpose, defending their homeland and seeing tangible results from their efforts. Each successful advance boosts confidence and reinforces the belief that victory is possible. For Russian soldiers, the situation seems far more uncertain. Many are deployed far from home, facing a determined opponent and unclear objectives. When defenses are breached and retreats become necessary, morale can drop rapidly, further weakening resistance. Logistics are also playing a crucial role. Fast advances put enormous pressure on supply lines, and Ukraine appears better prepared for this challenge than many expected. Flexible supply routes and local support have allowed Ukrainian units to keep moving without major pauses. Russian logistics, by contrast, have long been a vulnerability. When Ukrainian forces strike supply depots, bridges, or transport routes, the effects are felt quickly at the front. Units short on fuel or ammunition cannot hold their positions for long. The terrain itself is influencing the pace of the advance. In some regions, open fields and road networks favor rapid movement, especially for forces that can coordinate armor, infantry, and artillery effectively. Ukraine has shown increasing skill in combining these elements. Urban areas present a different challenge, but even here, Ukraine has adapted. Rather than costly frontal assaults, forces often aim to encircle or pressure cities, forcing Russian troops to withdraw or risk being cut off. International observers are paying close attention to these developments. Many analysts had expected a prolonged stalemate, but the current pace of Ukrainian advances suggests that assumptions may need to be revised. The balance of initiative appears to be shifting. This does not mean the conflict is close to ending. Russia still has significant resources and manpower, and it would be a mistake to underestimate its ability to adapt. However, the current phase shows that Ukraine has gained a tactical and operational edge. One reason Russia may not have been ready for this is its expectation of a slower, more predictable fight. Defensive plans seem to have been built around holding fixed positions rather than responding to rapid, multi-directional threats. Ukraine's strategy appears designed to exploit exactly this weakness. By striking in unexpected places and moving quickly, Ukrainian forces force Russia to spread its attention and resources thinly across a wide front. The psychological impact of fast advances should not be underestimated. When defenses collapse quickly, it sends shockwaves through the entire military structure. Commanders become cautious, troops lose confidence, and decision-making slows even further. At the same time, Ukrainian successes are being closely watched by allies. Continued advances strengthen Ukraine's position diplomatically, reinforcing arguments for sustained international support and assistance. Technology continues to shape the battlefield. Precision weapons allow Ukraine to target key nodes behind the front lines, disrupting Russian operations without the need for massive troop concentrations. This supports the overall strategy of speed and flexibility. Training and experience are also factors. Ukrainian forces have spent years adapting to modern warfare conditions, learning from earlier phases of the conflict. This accumulated experience is now paying off in complex, coordinated operations. Russia's military structure, often criticized for its rigidity, is struggling to keep pace with this adaptability. When plans fail, there is limited room for initiative at lower levels, making it harder to respond to sudden changes. Another important element is timing. Ukraine has chosen moments when Russian forces are stretched or distracted, launching advances when the chances of success are highest. This careful timing amplifies the impact of each operation. Weather and seasonal conditions also influence mobility and visibility. Ukraine appears to be taking advantage of favorable conditions to maximize movement and minimize exposure to enemy fire. As Ukrainian units push forward, they are also working to secure newly gained areas quickly. Clearing operations, stabilization efforts, and coordination with local authorities help prevent Russian counterattacks and sabotage. The role of information warfare cannot be ignored. Clear communication about successes helps maintain domestic support in Ukraine and counters narratives that suggest the conflict is frozen or unwinnable. For Russia, the rapid pace of events creates challenges not only on the battlefield but also politically. Sudden losses are harder to explain and manage, increasing pressure on leadership. Despite these advances, Ukrainian commanders remain cautious. Each push forward carries risks, and overextension could create vulnerabilities. The balance between speed and security is delicate. Still, the current momentum is undeniable. Each successful operation builds on the last, creating a sense of inevitability that can be powerful in warfare. The coming weeks will be critical. Russia will likely attempt to stabilize the front, reinforce key areas, and adapt its tactics. Whether it can do so quickly enough remains an open question. Ukraine, meanwhile, seems determined to maintain pressure. By keeping Russian forces constantly reacting, Ukraine reduces the chances of a coordinated counteroffensive. This phase of the conflict highlights a broader lesson about modern warfare. Speed, information, and adaptability often matter more than sheer numbers or heavy equipment. It also shows how quickly assumptions can change. What once seemed like a static situation is now dynamic, with lines shifting and strategies evolving. Civilians in affected areas continue to bear the greatest burden. Rapid advances can bring hope, but they also bring uncertainty and disruption. Protecting civilian lives remains a critical concern. International reactions will likely shape the next stage of the conflict. Diplomatic moves, aid packages, and strategic decisions are often influenced by developments on the ground. As the situation evolves, one thing is clear: Ukraine's fast advances have caught Russia off guard, exposing weaknesses and forcing a re-evaluation of the conflict's trajectory. Whether this momentum can be sustained will depend on many factors, including resources, planning, and international support. For now, however, the pace of events suggests that Russia was indeed not ready for this. The battlefield remains unpredictable, but the current trend highlights Ukraine's growing confidence and capability. Each day brings new developments that could further reshape the situation. In the end, this phase may be remembered as a turning point, where speed and adaptability change the narrative of the conflict. The world is watching closely as events continue to unfold.